Good evening, everybody. How are you on this very tempestuous day? One of humid heat. Look at the hair. Humid heat and rain and sunshine and all things weird and wonderful about the great British weather. I'm going to kind of just babble a little bit until people drop on. And if you drop on, it will be great to know where you're watching from. So hashtag live. Oh, note to self, Mandy, turn off notifications before you go live. You think I'd know by now. I'm a bit of a seasoned liver, so I should know. Hashtag live. If you're watching live, tell me where you're watching from. If you're watching on replay, hashtag replay, and still tell me where you're watching from. Good evening, Rachel BT. Great, of Cramlington. Great to see you tonight. So I am going to be, it's week 3 of my ARIA for August. And remember, in week 1, I talked about abundance. And in week 2, I talked about resilience. And tonight, hi, I don't know who you are because I can't see your name, but hi. I love sort of seeing everybody here and speaking, but if you don't actually accept StreamYard in the top comments, then I can't see your name. So I'll just say hi to everybody. And I'll try and keep my flow. I won't say hi to everybody as you drop on, but hi everybody. So tonight I'm talking about intuition. And intuition's one of those things, I suppose, that is perceived at being a little bit woo-woo. However, in terms of, oh, hello, Lucy, watching from North Devon, thank you. It's perceived as being woo-woo, but for me, it is actually the highest form of intelligence that us human beings possess. Fact. And it's being studied at very high levels in neuroscience at the moment and all over the world. It's a fascinating subject because our intuition is most valuable to us when we listen to it and acknowledge it, as is everything. And I have had the most amazing previous month, where I've had some real big up levels with a spiritual coach and a medium. And you might be shaking your head going, oh, mediums, that's a load of rubbish. And spiritual coaching, what's that all about? I'm going to tell you, because I'm going to talk to you about intuition and how important it is that you listen and you learn to listen to this amazing tool that you have already hardwired into your body. Okay, so I want you to think about your intuition as almost like a GPS system for life. It's going to guide you the best, in the most efficient way to where you need to go. So your intuition is a GPS and it's going to take you on the best route, the quickest route, the one that avoids the most detours, the one that avoids most potential accidents. It's going to take you in the best way from A to B, but only if you know how to use it. And if you don't know how to program your GPS system properly, then it won't work effectively for you. If you don't learn how to navigate it efficiently and effectively, then it can't navigate you in the same way. So your intuition is that gut feeling, that feeling that you have. It's linked in with your thoughts and your emotions. Now, this served us, if we go back to cavemen times, and believe me, I'm old enough to remember them firsthand. We go back to cavemen times. As cavemen, we had nothing to give us a red flag, a red light, a warning system that danger was nearby. We had nothing other than our senses and that gut feeling of what was safe and what was not. Because that's our God-given directional signage, isn't it? So, cavemen, saber-toothed tiger, stalking around, he is going to follow his gut. He's going to look for signs. He's going to create safety in numbers, create something that will work for him so that he doesn't get eaten while he's trying to find his dinner for him and his family. That's where our intuition sits. It sits within us, and it's a guiding light for us, this GPS that's going to take us on our path. But it only works when you listen. Now, I've had a very, very strong message from the other side and a very strong message from a spiritual coach in the last month that has really, the message has been to listen, because we know what's right. Have you ever walked into a room of strangers, people that you don't know, or been introduced to somebody for the very first time, and the hairs on the back of your neck have stood up? Your hackles have gone up like a dog when dogs are meeting each other and the fur on the back of the neck stands up. It's like that. And you meet somebody and you know that person is not a good person, or they're not good for you. I'm not saying they're not necessarily a good person, but they're not good for you. They are not going to fit in with what's going to serve you, your values, etc. That's happened to most of us, hasn't it? What happens is that we unlearn this sense that we already have, this God-given GPS that we have. We unlearn it going through life, going through the school system, through the people that mold and shape us in our life, because we stop using it so much. If you leave an infant to just navigate their way, they're going to pull some things on top of them. They're going to touch things that might be a bit dangerous, but they'll only do it once. This is a natural feeling sensory journey for them, where they're going to make mistakes, but it's okay, because they won't make the same mistake again and again, because it hurt the first time and their gut's telling them not to do it again. It's that gut feeling. It serves us all from birth right through to death if we listen to it. But we go through an education system and potentially an environmental upbringing that encourages us not to use this, because it's not seen as academic. It's not seen as good sense. It's not. So we would rather tell somebody the fire is hot, don't put your hand in it, than allow them to burn themselves. And that does not feed our intuition. I've got another person join there saying hello. Always great to have you. It does not feed us or allow us to use our intuition to guide us in the direction that we need to go. We also, most of us know what we want if we're left alone to do it. We also know what we want to get out of life. But again, we are coerced against that, potentially by people telling us that that's not a good idea, don't do that. So here's what I wanted to share with you tonight, is that when you really raise your vibration and learn to listen to your intuition, that gut feeling, it can be life-changing for you. It can really be life-changing, and I want to share that with you. So I'm going to give you some examples of Mandy not listening to her intuition and fucking up big style, okay, and Mandy listening to her intuition, and the difference of experience that gave me. Because I can only ever speak to you from experience, and I only ever would. I can speak to you from textbooks, but it's somebody else's words and opinions and not mine. And that's not the right thing to do. The best way to speak to people is from your experience. You can share your experience. They can take out of it what they want, take away what they want, and dismiss anything that they don't want. And that's the right way to communicate. In my book, from what I've learned throughout my life, that's the best way to communicate. So I had a pretty crappy first marriage. It lasted 10 months, okay? So I was totally in love, head over heels, met this great guy at a Bruce Springsteen concert, was totally swept away with meeting him at a Bruce Springsteen concert, and he was amazing, and I was totally in love, and I was in my early 20s when you're really stupid and you know nothing and you think you know everything, okay? So I married him. It lasted 10 months. Really bad judgment on my part. So did I learn from that? Nope. Second time, guess what happened? Totally head over heels in love. could actually see the warning signs that were there, could listen to what other people said about this person but dismissed it, knew his reputation and dismissed it, and ended up marrying him anyway. Guess what? That one didn't. I got past the first year, which was a bit of a record for me, and that one lasted 5 years, and both of them were bad boys, and they really hurt me, and they left me. So, guess what? By number 3, I'm thinking, right, don't go for a bad boy, Mandy. So I met this chap, really nice guy, or so I thought. And he was a really nice guy. And again, listened to my heart and went with it, and ended up marrying this guy, only to discover he was the laziest man on God's earth and didn't like to work. But I didn't know that about him because I didn't really do my homework. And again, led with my heart. So I'd gone against what I'd previously done and picked a nicer guy. And I actually stayed with him for 13 years because I was like, Mandy, you're really bad at this. You're really, really bad at marriage. Perhaps you should stick this one out and see if there's another way, something else that you need to learn. And what I did learn was that you can't change people, that what you see is what you get. And if you get an early reveal that this person isn't a great person, it's usually what they are. So I went to work one day, and this man had moved in with me, moved down from the north to the south to be with me, moved all his stuff down. So I felt obliged, went to work one day, came home at 6 o'clock. He was still in bed. He'd been in bed all day. My gut was saying, oh my goodness, you need to run away. You need to get rid of him. But I felt an obligation because he'd moved in with me. And I stuck with that. 13 years later, I'd had the most unhappy marriage of my life out of 3 of them. Discovered I wasn't very good at it, but I had 2 amazing children that I loved dearly. So I decided when that marriage broke down, and that was 11 years ago when I had my series of unfortunate events, and I talk about it in the book that I wrote. Okay, so if you want to buy that book, you can go on Amazon. It's The Life I Won by A.J. King, which is my pen name. But it was a huge lesson for me. And what I decided to do then was spend some considerable years on my own, working on my self-development and honing my intuition, and not actually diving in with another person, really working on me. Now, it's a journey to work on you, your self-development, your intuition. It's a journey for all of us, no matter where we are in life. And I am sure that there are none of you out there that have been perfect from birth and not made mistakes. We are born to make mistakes. We are born to learn from the lessons that we create from ourselves, the mistakes that we make in life. And it's okay to do that. Believe me, anyone who tells you otherwise is wrong. Once you tune into this thing that you've got, this intuition, this inner GPS that you have, this GPS that belongs to you and nobody else, that's going to guide you in the right direction, and you allow it to get into the driving seat and you listen to it, and you do that in an informed way based on the mistakes that you've made over your lifetime, whether that's a decade, 2 decades, or 3 decades, it doesn't matter. Then you really start to make wise, considered choices. So I chose at that point that I was at rock bottom and I'd lost yet another marriage, and I was, using the strapline of, I am better at picking staff and team members than I am at picking husbands. And I was making a joke of it, but I was really working on myself and becoming in tune with my intuition. And it was telling me that I was made for greater things. So I created my first business, and that worked really well. And, I was on this self-belief journey and listening to what was happening around me. And that becomes all-consuming, and it becomes a powerful tool that you have in your hands. Once you have self-belief and a mindset that you are going to succeed no matter what, that you are going to listen to what your gut is telling you is the right thing to do, that you're going to open yourself up to the universe starts to put the right things in your path. Well, it doesn't. You open up your thinking so that you can spot the right things that actually make their way. Absolutely 100%. Thank you, Rebecca. You're with me on that, and I know you are. Once you open yourself up and say, I'm going to trust that I know the answer, I know the answer. I know, like I know, because I've made so many mistakes. And I had made so many mistakes. Okay. If there was a title, fuck up of the century, I would probably have it. But you know what? I own that big time, and I take responsibility for that, because those were my choices. I made those choices, even though my gut was saying, this isn't right for you, Mandy. You're made for greater things. Didn't really 100% believe in myself. Once I embarked on that journey of self-discovery and started really listening, I found that very quickly I was making really good choices, the right choices that were serving me in a much better way, because I was listening. So fast forward 5 years, and I met this bloke in a pub, and I actually had a couple of male friends at the time, and I met this bloke in a pub, and he seemed really nice, and his name was Gary. And I took it really slow, and I listened to my intuition, and I followed the path that I wanted to follow. And you know what? When you've had 3 bad marriages, you could decide that you're really bad at it and you're never going to do it again. But there was something about this man that felt right. And there was something, and I listened to my head and not my heart. And I ended up with the most wonderful man. And I spent 7 wonderful years with him. Whilst doing that, so I'd sorted the love in my life, I was working on my wealth. I was working on all areas in my life and listening really hard to the lessons that I'd had, to what I'd done previously, and to what I wanted to get out of life. I did not want to remain single, unhappy, poor, miserable. None of those things were serving me. I wanted to be happy, fulfilled, abundant, loved and in love, but with the right person. So I listened to my intuition. And for the last 10 years of my life, I have made really good choices, because I've followed this feeling. When I've met somebody and I felt that they were not going to serve me, I have actually made some tough decisions to cut people out of my life. When an opportunity's come my way and it hasn't been something that felt 100% right, I've said no to it, or I've removed myself from it when I've tested it out. Sometimes I've gone ahead and tested things and I've not felt it, so I've moved myself away from it. That can be quite upsetting for other people, but I learned a long time ago not to please other people and to look after me, because nobody else is going to, are they? So I needed to make sure that I did that. So where am I going with this? This month I knew I'd come a long way in listening to my intuition and following my path that I believed was the right path. So I decided this last month to invest in myself, in a spiritual coach and in a medium, because I really wanted to access all areas and understand. Now, the spiritual coach took me to a place in my subconscious that I didn't even know was there. So I thought I was intuitively following the right path. But when you delve really deep, and when you push past your comfort zone, and when you explore the unexplorable, the things that you've never explored before, it's possible for you to be even greater than you think you can be. And that's all down to you, and it's your responsibility. It's your responsibility to seek the help. It's your responsibility to put yourself in the company of the right people. It's your responsibility to take the right advice, to seek out different opinions, to make an informed decision, but ultimately to follow what your gut is telling you is the right thing to do. Because when you listen, and this is the message I've had very strongly in the last month, to listen, Mandy, listen. And I've had this message from a spiritual medium and from a spiritual coach. Listen. Don't just look, don't just see because you are a creative, but listen. Listen to your gut, listen to your intuition. And that intuition is taking me in the right direction, and yours will take you. So how do you listen to it? Well, the first thing that you do is you stop listening to others, because what you get from other people is merely an opinion. What you get from books is merely information for you to dissect and decide what you think is right for you and what is not right for you, what resonates with you and what does not resonate with you, what feels like it's something that you would be interested in doing and what doesn't feel like you would be interested in doing it. Because ultimately, you are 100% responsible for your life, for the decisions that you make in your life, for the path that you follow in your life, and it's nobody else's responsibility. When you listen to your gut and then make an informed decision by filling the gaps in your skills, looking for what's my skill gaps and how do I need to fill them? What's my path and direction? How am I going there? Setting goals, making clear visionary path, listening to that gut instinct. So most of you know that have listened to me before that I fully intend to purchase my Scottish castle and run retreats there, creative retreats for creative people in a magnificent castle setting with loads of amazing activities. That's my ultimate dream. For me, that's my dream job. And I'm on my way there by having my current dream job of working with creative women. I've created this myself. It was nobody else's responsibility for me to get on that path. And my gut told me that was the right way to go. Very, very clear in my vision exactly what I want. I've even worked up the plan to get me there. I've worked the numbers up. I've engaged a business coach over the last 12 months to help me fill in some of the skill gaps. I've worked with a spiritual coach to help me to fill in some of the intuition gaps, and with a spiritual medium to help me to fill in some of the visionary gaps. So what am I saying to you? We all are where we are. And the only way you can move from where you are now to where you want to be and stop it being a dream and make it reality is to listen to what your gut is telling you to do. Because you're right. Do you know that? Whatever you think is right is right. Whatever you think is wrong is wrong. Nobody else can influence your decision unless you allow yourself to be influenced. Don't allow yourself to be influenced. You know the answer. Whatever your answer you are seeking in any area of your life, you already know the answer. How do you listen? How do we listen to that intuition? The best way to do that is to really get in tune with yourself. And the best way to do that is to meditate. And again, many people go, oh, that's woo-woo. Do you know what? Meditation isn't woo-woo. It's a very sensible way of calming your senses and listening to what's going on. Allowing your body to relax and be calm to a state where you are able to tap into your inner resources. When you can tap into your inner resources, you open up your subconscious to a level that contains, it's almost like opening up this treasure chest of jewels, and the jewels are information about where you should go on your future path. What are the right decisions to make? They're in there. They're like rubies and diamonds and emeralds sitting in your subconscious right now. And unless you work on methods to allow you to tap into them and feed your intuitive senses, then you're not going to be able to listen to them, because we're all trained on the hamster wheel of life to think a certain way, to look a certain way, to behave a certain way, to follow laws, to follow rules, that work should look like this and social time should look like this, that our faces should look like this, our bodies should look like this. You know what's right for you. You know what feels right for you. You know what feels good. Nobody else should ever influence that. Your intuition is telling you what good looks like. When I started a new job as a store manager, I can hear my door opening. Is that a dog coming in? Yeah, that's a dog coming in, panting. Hi, Jet. When I started any new store as a store manager, and I managed many stores as a store manager, I would initially meet with the team, and it would be the fit in or fuck off speech. Okay, this is where we're going. We're going to take this store from non-profitable and sales at a very poor level and wages not under control and shrinkage out of control, and we're going to take it to this perfect place, this place where it's brand new store standards. This is how we're going to do it. And if you don't feel that you're part of that journey, I want you to leave now. And I had that conversation in every single store I went into, the FIFO speech. And it was important for me to communicate with people at that level so they knew what to expect. And intuitively, they would know whether they wanted to be part of that journey or not. I gave them the opportunity. What I didn't do was sugarcoat it. I gave them a real dose of the cold, hard truth. We don't get that very often in life. We don't get that level of honesty very often in life. And when we get it, it shocks us and it makes us feel really uncomfortable. And it makes us force ourselves to see outside of our comfort zone. And it sets your hackles up. If you're doing something wrong and you're part of that poor performance at the moment, you're not going to be wanted. You might feel like you're going to get found out. It's all about being really true and authentic in everything that you do, even if that's an uncomfortable conversation with somebody. And even if that's an uncomfortable conversation that you have to say, I'm really sorry, this doesn't feel right for me. I don't want to do this. It's not in line with my values. It's not in line with the place I'm going. It's not in line with my goals. So I'm going to say, thank you very much, but this isn't for me. I'm going to step out and I'm going to do something else. I want you to practice that, because that's going to serve you better than anything else that you do on your path to greatness and success. And that's you being honest with yourself, saying this doesn't feel right. Often we end up in things. We end up doing things that are not serving us. We end up with people that are not serving us. We end up with a whole load of baggage. I used to call it monkeys. And if I can align it to walk, if you were, as a store manager, I used to call it monkeys. Don't give me your monkeys. Okay, so if I walked around my store and I allowed every person I walked past, when I said good morning, to say, morning, Mandy, I've got a problem. This is my problem. Can you help me with it? If I said yes, I ended up with a monkey on my back. And if I walked around my entire store and did that, I could have 20 monkeys on my back. But the people in my store got rid of 20 monkeys, didn't they? They gave them to me. Don't allow that in your life. I learned very quickly not to allow that. And that's intuitively saying, okay, instead of saying, yes, let me help you with that, you say, how can you solve that yourself? So your intuition instantly, if you feel uncomfortable when someone makes a request of you or asks you for help or asks you to follow a certain direction, and that does not serve you in any way, if it's not 100% aligned with what you want and where you're going, listen to that voice of intuition that's telling you the right way to go. And if the right way to go is to say no, I want you to practice saying no, because saying no is going to serve you better than any other word that you use in your vocabulary from now to the end of time. Saying no empowers you. Saying no empowers the person you're saying it to solve their own problem. Listen to that voice. Listen to your intuition. Listen to yourself and follow your path. Do not follow anybody else's path, because it will take you so far off the road, you will not end up at your destination. Your GPS is telling you the best, most efficient route to take to your final destination. But have you ever ignored your GPS when you're on the road and you're going somewhere and it tells you to do something and you think you know better? How many of you have done that and got lost? Put your hands up now. I have. Thought I knew better than the GPS. How many of you have done that? And how many of you have done that in life? think you know best and you've gone off path, and it can take you months or years to get yourself back on track. You don't want that in your life, honestly. It's not worth losing a decade for somebody who's not serving you. It's not worth you losing a year for something that's not serving you, because time is precious. It's the most precious thing you've got. Intuition is your highest level of intelligence that you have. Forget your A levels, O levels, academic degrees, all of the qualifications that you've got. Put them up in a bag and say, do you know what? It doesn't matter what I know. I know where I'm going. My brain knows, my intuition is telling me to follow this path. Despite me knowing this, and this, I need to follow it. That takes courage. And one of the things that you will develop if you follow your intuitive thoughts is your courage. Courage is a great thing. Courage has created great leaders through history. And be a leader, not a follower. Be somebody that's prepared to say no to others, but yes to you. I hope that's made you think tonight, because there's so much in it. I could go on for hours and hours about intuition and the things that I've learned. What I have learned is that when I listen to myself and listen to what I really, really know, I'm usually right. And so are you. So believe in yourself, and your path will unfold before you. Have a wonderful evening, and I will see you next week with the final part of my ARIA for August, which is going to be A for action. So this, for me, will be my favorite part of my ARIA, because I love taking action on that intuition. I love taking action on abundance. I love taking action and using my resilience, all the things I've talked to you about in the last 3 weeks. I love turning things into action and action into results. That's where we're going next week. See you all then. Have a wonderful week, and bye for now.